There's got to be burbot down there already.
Why do you say that?
Well, because the bottom keeps going up and down. Got a burbot! Yep. Dead sticked it.
I see.
Or it's a laker.
No, it's gotta be a burb. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Told you, missing prime time, man. Hurry up! Time for the burbot, guys. It's a nice one. Don't know how long he is. Such a pretty fish. Really are. Alright guys and girls, welcome back to the Bennett Fishing Channel. We have special guest Ryan, who's kind of always on the channel. We're going to talk about how to catch late winter burbot, or cusk as we call them here in New Hampshire, or freshwater cusk. There's a bunch of different names for them. I'll leave those in kind of like the description below. But basically, let's talk about the location for cusk. So right now we're kind of on a rocky spine. And I do have the underwater camera down there for your viewing pleasure, and this is how my favorite way to catch them. So they love rocks, they love crawfish. So I'm going to pop up a picture right here of a cusk or a burbot with tons of crawfish or crawdads, whatever you want to call them, baby lobsters as my son calls them, inside of these fish. And they are a true predator, and they get really big. The state record for New Hampshire was just caught, it was like 15 pounds. It was like over almost like 3 feet long. Massive fish. We have caught a couple. We caught a 25-incher today during the daylight. And one of the best times to target them is during the night. And I just heard from another YouTuber, they're kind of like a working man's fish. You can go get your go eat dinner with your family, get home from work, eat dinner with your family, put the kids to sleep, which is what I do, and then go out and catch these fish from 7 o'clock at night, or whenever. The instant it gets dark, usually they turn right on. So right now it's 7 o'clock. We just went through a daylight savings time, which is super fun. And as soon as it gets dark, they just turn on. So we're on a rocky point. They love rocks, which, because of the crawfish in the area, they will eat other species of fish, so smelt, and they absolutely love chum. So if your state is legal to chum, you can chum, obviously. So we're using shiners, suckers, and smelt on the bottom here. And we usually set up, what happens the way that I do it most of the time is I come out in the morning. I know my cusk spot for the night is going to be like a rocky area. I'll throw down chum throughout the day to get them kind of fired up in the area. So when I come here at night, they're already hot on us. So that's kind of the location. We're off kind of an island kind of area. You can fish them right close to shore. The depth that we normally fish them in is anywhere between 50 and, what's your shallowest, probably? 15 feet. It depends on where that crawfish and that bait kind of is. And in that same picture I showed you, there's also a sunfish that they eat. So depends on how big their mouth is, whatever they can fit in there. They're kind of like a eat whatever fits kind of fish.
Birch.
Yeah, birch, whatever fits in there. So that's where to find them. And like I said, it's middle of March right now. And as long as you have ice and it's legal to do so, we have no limit here in New Hampshire for them. No length limit, no keep limit, no nothing, which is kind of cool. Only fish that we have those for in New Hampshire. And let's talk about baits real quick. So I'm going to reel up mine first, and I'm going to show you a couple different baits. So their eyesight is very poor, and when we get one up here in a minute, and I'll show you kind of why, they kind of look like a catfish. They have kind of like a little barbell on the bottom, so they're triggered by noise. They love noise, and they love glow. So I love the Aquaview down there because the fish are actually attracted to the camera. I'm not really sure why. I think it's the infrared light, and it might make some like sort of humming noise that they like. But I like to use little tiny tungsten jigs, which I sell. These are 7mm tungsten jigs, size 4 hook. And then I use basically they call it SX shad. And this is super glow. So this is kind of like a little paddle tail plastic. You guys can focus on that. And what I do is I hit it with a glow light, which, so this is a UV light. This is made by Solarez. There's a bunch of other ones out there. If you've ice fished before, you've used glow stuff before. So this is my super glow one that I make, and I'm going to hit this real quick, and I'm going to turn the lights off and show you how bright this actually is. And this is the Chartreuse Super Glow, or just Super Glow in general. So that's how bright that thing actually glows. There's no light in here except for the Aquaview light. So super bright, super glow. So glow is key. and noise is key. So Ryan is actually going to reel up his right now and show us what he's got. So we like to use a couple different lures, and we're allowed set lines here in New Hampshire, so we actually have 2 jaw jackers out with live shiners on them near the rocks. So we're only allowed a single hook here in New Hampshire. So this is kind of a Wonder Bread spoon. It has a little
rattle.
Tiny little rattle in it, and a single hook and a piece of dead shiner or sucker,
sucker
on it, basically. So he's pounding bottom with that. I'm doing the same with mine. He's got a small Aquaview camera, the Micro Revolution 5.0 Pro. And so he can see the bite or feel the bite, doesn't matter. So we're putting like basically bait onto our hooks, as much of the hook is exposed as possible, right? So that's going to be going down there. That's going to be glow. We're going to be pounding bottom, making some noise. Most of the time what I'll do is I'll throw another, I can only have 2 lines right now, but I'll throw another bigger jig down there, like a 1 ounce bucktail or something like that, with a big glow-in-the-dark paddle tail. I don't make these, but I'm going to soon because they work awesome. And then one of the reasons we use the Aquaview is because if I turn on the sonar right now, we're on a ton of rocks. Like there's rocks kind of all around us. When I turn on the sonar, that rock is going to show up, that sonar is going to stop on top of that rock, and you won't see the burbot because they kind of like scrub the bottom. They are very bottom orientated. They will come up sometimes, but most of the time you don't catch them suspended. You'll catch them right on the bottom. And so the underwater camera doesn't really miss anything. You can see that fish come in and bite the jig. Most of the time I am seeing the fish inhale the jig, and I am setting the hook accordingly. So I'll leave the links for both all 3 Aquaviews, all 3 scales that they have right now. They have a 5-inch, a 7-inch, and then they have a 7-inch portable, and they have a 10-inch, which is kind of overkill, but it's cool to see on the screen. So I'm using an AverMedia device to record this so I can show you guys the action of the jig and stuff at the bottom. And so for line and reel setup, I'm using the Circle Tackle Lake Trout Pike and Walleye rod. This is a 36-inch. It's great for the shack. I'm using 10-pound braid, a 3000 series reel, which is my summer reel, which is probably overkill for this. They do fight. Most of the time, sometimes they don't. It's usually when you get them to the bottom of the ice, they start fighting. And then I'm using a 10-pound, about 6-foot fluorocarbon leader. And I'm using a Seaguar Blue Label for that. So I'll leave all the links for all the stuff I'm obviously saying below in this particular rod, which I like. He's using a Tickle Stick, which is a more sensitive rod. He likes to play the fish a little bit more.
Yeah, they're fun. They're fun that way.
And so these are an absolutely delicious fish. I don't eat a lot of fish, but I do eat this. It's a very white, it's kind of like they call it poor man's lobster. It's a mix between like a scallop and a lobster, like texture-wise. And it's not super fishy like trout or anything like that. So people turn them in the chowder. I basically fillet them and turn them into like a lobster roll style meal. It's actually really good. So if you haven't seen any fish in a while, we like to pound bottom with something heavy like I showed you before. That works great. And we had, like I said, we've caught a couple small ones already. Trying to get one on the underwater camera, which is always the coolest. Usually when my jig leg starts off camera is when they bite it for some reason. So another good bait for Cusk or Burbot are tubes. If you can find glow tubes, white or just natural glow, that's a good thing. That's basically mimic crawfish anyways.
There's
a fish.
Where?
Right there.
Oh. Got him.
Got it.
Nice. That was sick. All the debris just gets kicked up.
Yep, so just caught one, guys. Just put them on the bigger camera, tiny ones.
It's gonna be little.
To reel him up before he gets caught in any camera cables. That's the one downside of using the Aquaview.
Wow. Little.
So, there's a burbot. They got this long kind of crazy tail. And then they have this little single barbell in the front here. They call it kind of like a beard. And then they have, like, if I can open his mouth, bigger fish would be easier to do. But they basically have crushing pads in the back, and they bite pretty hard, but there's no actually teeth in there. It's kind of like a bass's mouth. But they have this crazy leopard pattern, especially when they're up in spawn, which they're in the spawn mode right now. We haven't pulled anyone out that's been like in spawn mode yet. But the night is yet young. So this one's, I don't know, probably a year or two old, something like that. So back down the hole he goes. Got him.
It's not that big, dang.
No, they look big on camera, but they're... Hammer them home, I guess.
Literally. He's not trying to do anything. Wow, he is tiny.
Yeah, I think we're in.
Smallville. Ugh. Probably the smallest one of the night.
Yeah,
we're so tiny.
This place usually averages like 20 inches, right?
Yeah,
I think
like
we're
literally
in between the spawn, or this is last year's
brood.
guys.
Well, thanks for watching the Burbot how-to video. I found this is the best way to jig for them with the AquaView camera, because like I said, most of the time you're in rocks. So I'll leave all 3 AquaView cameras. I use 2. I use the 5, and then I use the 7. I use the 7 just because I can record with it and share that with you guys. So that's the best. It's a little expensive, but they're coming out with a couple of cheaper brands that have those bigger screens. And I will leave the link for my website below that has the baits that I sell that I've caught some massive burbot on. So thank you guys very much for watching, and till next time.